you.
I'm gonna do me. That's just pre-show time, right? We got lots of time.
Damn right you're gonna do you. I'll do me and you do you.
Well, someone's got to do me.
I'm glad you're the one signing up for that job because I'm not.
All right, we are live.
This is a great start.
We're officially live now, right? So
Officially live.
what I'm going to make sure is that everybody knows this is the link for the live stream.
Ooh.
Please share it.
Okay, where is the link? Did you drop it in the chat? No, you dropped it in the. What the hell's
Bam.
happening to my?
There it is.
Why am I a flickering cartoon?
Obligatory January Thaw episode.
Done.
What did I?
Dick. Hold on.
You're not a cartoon.
Hey, now I'm back. On my end, I was a flashing cartoon screen. My feed got all borked.
Looks like your feed got struck by lightning.
Yeah.
We're live recording our radio show. Frankie McDonald will be here at 7 p.m.
Frankie Mac.
Brandon Hauk is already live.
Here.
You want to get ready to say something, Brandon, in a second?
Are we
here?
doing
Brandon
attendance?
Hauk? Doing attendance.
Here.
Brandon Hauk is already with
Here.
us. Talking Western
Brandon's a
Canada
present.
weather. I type pretty fast.
Yeah.
Along with Building Donaldson and Imogen Bailey. Plus, tonight we're talking BC bus, intercommunity bus riding. All right. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Please share. My name is Joey Only, and this is the recording of our weekly radio show, which broadcasts on a couple radio stations. And at 7 p.m., Frankie McDonald, the world famous weatherman, shows up. And the first thing we do is hit record. And whatever Frankie is, that's how the show starts. And then we record for 1 hour. And then afterwards, I take the recording of the show. So it's funny. We're live streaming a future radio program, which I will then edit and add all the funny sound clips and take out all the boring stuff. And every time someone going and droning on too long, and replace it with funny things that's and then that's how we make a radio show. So welcome to the pre-record, but we will be talking about weather. Plus that we're talking BC intercommunity bus transportation.
Well,
tonight
cool. Okay.
with Murray Bush and
Hey, when's the last time we had a decent beheading on a bus? Was it just the one bath salts guy or what?
he wasn't a bath salts guy.
Yeah, have we had another beheading since then? No more cannibalism.
Oh, probably.
I mean, our media is really watered down and really doesn't talk about much. It's pretty tedious. I mean, we have all sorts of psychotic stuff happens every day. We just don't really hear a lot about it. So, a good bus chow down would be kind of a refreshing change of pace.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when they take away. See what Greyhound did as they made their services more and more rotten was they took away any good place to stop where you could eat. So what happened is you get to just the worst places. There'd be, you'd be at a bus station and all there is like these 3-day-old sandwiches or something, right? And so, I mean, the first thing they could have done if they wanted to get cannibalism down is start to have food,
Well, I'm thinking it'd be
better food available so that people aren't like fuck, I gotta
and to eat each other on the trip.
Yeah, I mean, you got like pretty shitty diner chow, and the best thing on there is the waitress. And I'm never going to complain about a cute waitress, but if you're looking at the menu and you're trying to decide between a breast or a thigh, and that's all you got is a waitress, then I've made my choices, man. I'm going to opt for cannibalism. I can't deal with like husky truck stop food. It's just
No, but obviously Richard Lee had extreme psychiatric issues, which have been addressed and dealt with, and that's unfortunate thing that
Damn it, Joey.
he has to
We
live
make
with.
it all serious and depressing and highlight the fact that it's a tragedy. I want to focus on novelty cannibalism, eating people, cannibals who are of sound mind and body, opting to eat people because they're delicious. There are a lot of delicious people in the world. Go to any gym. These are people who care for their bodies, who put in the time and effort, eat clean. These are
the people at the gym you don't want tough meat. You obviously don't know anything about butchering.
Oh, yes, I do. I know enough about butchering to know that I can be a wizard with any cut of meat, and I can make it absolutely delicious, tender, and flavorful, just like a newborn baby. I can take the most hardened gym rat.
You're upsetting the normal humans.
Delicious. What? Brandon's giggling. Building's eating something.
I said the normal humans. What do you got for us this week, Brandon?
Man, this show's gone off the rails so far. Wow.
Well, we haven't really started the show, but welcome.
You're welcome.
To the live streaming. I guess we started the live. I guess that is the show. It's another version of the same show. Isn't that confusing?
I like the confusion. It makes it interesting. Makes it so I want to listen to all different varieties of it.
That's right. Joey can edit so that we've got the dirty version. And,
I don't edit
where
this.
I'm featured, and then there's the clean version, which is all Brandon heavy. And I'll see my ginger gem in the green room after. And we'll make something lukewarm.
Well, I got a bit of a tidbit here. And back in the 90s, I had this friend that was a native guy, and he used to come by and really dramatically tell me the weather report. And after a little bit, we found out he'd found it on the radio somewhere. It wasn't anything special. But anyway, he went and predicted that we were going to have a long, cold April, and he proceeded to drive all over Francois Lake with his pickup until he drove through the ice and drowned.
Oh, I realize I'm still pinned, aren't I? How terrible. Yeah, I put the pin on because I was trying to get my lighting right and then forgot. That is stupid. Sorry, everybody. I'm glad you got to see my face. Brandon?
I'm still giggling about a guy driving through the ice. That's chasing the weather and he drowns himself. That's impressive.
Well, we did in Madoc back home growing up. We had a competition every year, and what you do is you'd take a time chunk and you'd bet on it. Basically, you'd sort of like a draw. So, and then what it was this truck would go out on the ice, and when the truck finally broke through, whatever time that was, whoever had that time slot was the winner. So, Brandon, what do you got for us this week?
Well, for this week, it's been really, really foggy for at least 3 to 4 days across the province of Alberta. So we've had all this fog kind of just hanging out. We have stagnant air mass, no air mass moving until this Chinook rolls in out of British Columbia. So this is British Columbia is changing the weather pattern. So we appreciate that. With the atmospheric river on the BC coast, that's going to be producing a whole whack of rain. I'd say, especially parts of Vancouver Island might get 100 to 200 millimeters of rain by the end of this week. So it's going to be, that's going to cause some flooding, some mudslides. We're going to be in for a little bit of a zonal flow. So we'll see some warm air moving in by tomorrow. We'll probably see daytime highs approaching. Some areas already actually got up to 10 today in Claresholm, while other areas like myself are still minus 10 right now with the fog. Well, the fog's gone, but the rime frosts that was on the trees over the last couple of days have been absolutely incredible, like a picture perfect rime frost around here. So yeah, it's pretty incredible to see the rime frost. And there's a little bit of a difference between the rime and the hoarfrost that you have. You have hoarfrost develops under clear skies. The rime frost happens from the super cooled water droplets from freezing fog. So it's some more of my favorite weather kind of terms around here. So we're going to see that zone of flow. We'll see a nice warm up for the weekend. We have a system that could produce some freezing rain. You can see in the Grand Prairie area tonight, might get some freezing rain. So be on the lookout for that if you're in Grand Prairie, Alberta. Got some freezing rain icons shown there on the map there. And I'd say we
just down there in Montana too.
Yep, Montana and up into the Grand Prairie area.
Brandon froze.
Brandon?
Oh no.
Man, you know what? It's that rime frost.
No, it's a flash
Frozen.
freeze.
Oh,
It's a flash
he's frozen in
freeze.
time. You know, his microphone is glowing hot. You'd think.
It could be that he's frozen in time. It could also be that I mean, you've seen The Day After Tomorrow. It could be that a flash freeze has turned Brandon into a mastodon.
Well, I mean, you know, he's pretty bison-like, so yes. And he's
he'll be
gone.
back. He'll be back. The
That
only really
red-haired
cold,
bastard.
the most extreme cold temperature, really, except for a tiny little bit up there in the far north of the Arctic, seems to be in Greenland, right? So it's January and the cold isn't really there. And we could probably talk about that tonight, I'm sure. How is my audio?
Adequate.
You're fine,
Sufficient.
Joey.
I don't want adequate. I want it to
Audible.
sound good.
Sufficient. Glorious.
So there was a death near Caslow, BC this week. You can see down here, a police officer was killed when they went up snowmobiling and then got off the snowmobile to go skiing and such. So what's changed though is we now, since yesterday when I made this video on my YouTube channel about how bad the conditions are, they've actually gotten worse. So earlier today, we saw it first in Vancouver Island and in the Coast Ranges. Then it moved to the interior, and then suddenly we're seeing that turn up in the Columbias, Revelstoke, and whatnot, right? So I got our faces in the way. Avoid avalanche terrain. I mean, it's going to be very warm, right? We're looking at above seasonal weather here in Wells for a number of days. So you have this sketchy snowpack, and now you get all this extra weight of water on top. The incoming weather will increase the likelihood of human and naturally triggered avalanches, right? So that's in the Columbias now. And I mean, everywhere else, you get this considerable still means considerable danger, right? It's not, I don't like the grading system of orange because it's kind of like, well, oranges take caution. No, orange should be red and red should be black. Like, don't go out. I have a lot of issues actually with the Avalanche Canada site. I don't like a lot of the functionality of the site. I think it's the 21st century, the year 2023 now. Environment Canada and Avalanche Canada and organizations like this should have websites that are as functional as friggin' possible, considering that we now have the technology to do just about anything humans can conceive of. You know, continually assess the snowpack for signs of instability. I mean, we know that it's not safe there, right? So, I mean, by and large, their predictions are good. Avalanche Canada, they're all really good. It's not the forecasters themselves who make the website, right? So I'm not trying to be down on anyone who's involved in Avalanche Canada. Murray Bush is showing up here in a minute too. And he's who I was telling you about, everyone who's going to be our guest tonight regarding, they're working on bus transportation. Here we go down by Princeton, Merritt. Dangerous avalanche conditions persist as heavy precipitation, rising freezing levels. Choose simple, low angle, well-supported terrain with no overhead hazards. Some of the avalanches that we've seen over the last day or two have been what I would consider on terrain that's not exactly very dangerous avalanche conditions on the coast persist with the ongoing heavy snowfall, rain, and wind. Avoid avalanche terrain. This is periods of heavy loading. That's what you call this. And the same goes for Vancouver Island. It's taking forever to load the forecast. I don't know what happens when you live in the mountains. Precipitation amounts have varied through the region, with higher amounts focused on the south of the region. Where precipitation is following as snow, the avalanche danger is especially high. So that's just some of the updates in the changes in the last 24 hours since I made this video about how fucking dangerous things actually are. And let's get our swearing out before we start making the radio show at 7 p.m. Murray Bush, good to see you. Welcome to the show. And I want you to meet long timer Brandon Houck. He's the radio man in Brooks, Alberta at 105.7 FM,
Hello.
Real Country Radio. And Imogen Cookie Bailey down in Victoria, and Hilding Donaldson out in Grassy Plains. And we'll have more of the CoMedeorological panel show up. This is Murray Bush down in Vancouver. Introduce yourself, tell everybody what you're up to. And just so you know,
I'm not in Vancouver anymore. I live on Gabriola Island now, which is, from where you are, pretty close to Vancouver, but it's a bit different, bit quieter, bit darker, bit cleaner. Yeah, and no avalanches on the island.
No, not often, eh?
Not often.
What Murray's working on is a project regarding bus transportation between communities in British Columbia.
So the idea is it's called Let's Ride, make public transit BC wide. So the idea is that we're still trying to come back after Greyhound left in 2018. And since then, we've had a sort of scatter approach to bus routes all through the province. So we'd actually like to see BC Transit keep expanding until they're responsible, and it's a public transit system that reaches all communities. So
well said.
Yeah.
When we start the show itself at 7, the order always is first I introduce everybody, and because you're new, I'll introduce you quickly, and we'll have sort of what you just sort of said, a quick go like that. And then we go to Frankie McDonald, who gives the full weather, and Brandon, and then we'll come back and focus on you guys first. And then the panel will be asking questions too throughout this. So, and Marianne Abbs, my old friend, who's also working with you on this project. Good to see you.
Hi, Joey.
I think you just got the rundown. How you doing, Marianne?
Good. How are you?
I'm friggin' great, actually. Yeah. Did you catch what Murray was saying about the intercommunity bus BC Transit?
No, I didn't catch that.
Well, maybe you could take a second to give your take.
I hope it's similar, Mary.
Yeah. Are you
It's
asking?
like Family Feud here, eh?
Yeah, no, sorry, I missed what Marie said. I think I would probably say basically the same thing, that we're here, like we're trying to promote the idea of like actual bus service, like public intercity intercommunity bus service that is like serves the whole province, serves like every community, is like happens often so that people want to take it. It's cheap, affordable, accessible. That's what we're looking for.
And yeah, so pretty much what Murray said. One thing everyone's gonna, when we get making the radio show, everyone's gonna want to know about is what you think of e-bus and what happened lately. And I think for myself, I was saying to Murray earlier today, I'm not necessarily looking for controversy on what happened. It's my opinion, having rode on the bus across Canada many times, Greyhound and other buses, that the bus always runs.
Mm-hmm.
And bus drivers are expected to do this from the public, and who will be testy, and from the people above them at the corporate level and the bosses, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's pressure to drive. And I know when I was coming across Canada or BC many times in the bus, you remember over 20 years ago, that was kind of my way of coming west the first time, that they would run the buses through things that I would never drive through and no one else was. And that's expected. So this, from a weather standpoint, the one time where that didn't happen was in Northern Ontario in Sudbury, where the highway was shut down by the province, and so nobody traveled.
You know, Joey, I was in a snowstorm a few weeks ago here, what counts as a snowstorm here, and the local buses in Nanaimo refused to do their routes. They said it's just not safe enough.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to put people at risk, and we're not going to have them sitting outside or standing outside waiting for us. So that, I think, part of that is those are public employees, and those are union employees as well. And I think they feel more secure doing something like that, you know, saying that they're not going to drive in unsafe conditions.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. There's going to be some unsafe conditions coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's sort of the bigger picture. Look at this low. What do you think of this big low off the Aleutians there, Brandon?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive low pressure system, and that atmospheric river that's steering up from California, that's going to produce some big time numbers on the rainfall amounts, and even higher elevation is going to get that significant snow for the next number of days.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the change in the weather here today. I don't know about, I mean, you're probably seeing it in Grassy Plains there, Hilding.
Actually, I didn't hardly see any change in weather today. It was around freezing, slightly above freezing. It rained a little bit, and then it got sunny, and that's what our day was. But we're in a shaded pocket. Like
So
the jet stream blows over top of us oftentimes.
Yeah, well, fair enough, being sort of on the dry side of the mountains up there. But you see the freezing rain icons are there through tomorrow, and I'm sure eBus and other companies would be happy to run because that's the expectation. The bus has got to run on Fridays. So, I mean, that's something I think at the ministry level that needs to be looked at too, whether or not your plan for BC Transit, which I think is a really good plan, has ever taken on. I mean, the willingness to shut the highways down more and more. Freezing rain, Saturday, 6 a.m. through the Caribou, through Revelstoke, Highway 1, heavy snow in places down south.
I think that's come at a time too when we've been cutting the maintenance. You know, maintenance contracts have been a lot tighter. So there's fewer trucks out there. There's less shovels. I know the Coquihalla, you know, since they privatized the maintenance of it, the fleet went way down next to nothing. That's got to have an effect on what can open as well.
Well, you make a good point.
There's another factor that we've not been noticing that we should be addressing. Greyhound ran big, heavy buses. Their big, heavy buses could handle a lot of weather. Now the new companies that are coming out are economizing with smaller rear-wheel drive buses with the engine in the front and such things, and they don't handle the weather the same. I have a friend who drives a Ford F550 bus from Burns Lake to Prince George, and he said when the weather is bad, it is just terrible to keep that old thing on the road because he often doesn't have a big enough load to put traction on his rear wheels.
Wow.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about too is like in general, buses are like a safer way to travel than like traveling in your car, like just statistically. But like they're also like can be available for crises, right? Like my parents have had to evacuate for forest fires twice, and they're in their 80s, and they've had to like drive out of like, you know, pretty dangerous situations. And if we had like a public bus service where people could, you know, take a bus instead of evacuating on their own, that would like our bus system could be repurposed for emergencies as well.
But and we would probably need some of those heavier buses as well, right?
And drivers who are trained, have the experience and willing to actually do it. Drivers refusing to drive in unsafe conditions, part of that element, part of why they would refuse is that they don't have the training or experience. They don't know what they're doing in, you know, heavy rain, for example, that could be classified as unsafe if they don't have the experience, if they don't have the ability. It becomes unsafe because of the driver. So to take a driver like that and expect them to be able to help in an emergency situation is a whole other thing. But having trained staff available who can repurpose the buses and use them that way, that's a fantastic concept.
Yeah.
In the comments, Susan Payne says, worst intercity bus service hero was in New Orleans. Standing in the middle of the aisles, surveying my legs and arms, holding the pole. Some people had cockroaches crawling on them and didn't flinch. So that sounds like something you'd hear about, in something you might find in the Andes in 1960 or something, like something you might find in a Kerouac novel or something. YJ Overlander says, I lived everywhere for Bella Coola and PG, and this is by far the mildest winter I've ever seen so far. Only one snap, and we're already flirting with February. And that's true. We're not looking to go below seasonal, I don't think, before February. You think, Brandon?
Yeah, we probably a couple more weeks above average, and then looks like I've also seen some signs of a colder air mass wanting to sneak down for a visit. So we'll have to keep an eye on the models over the next couple of weeks for the end of January, beginning of February here. Probably not as bad as that December one, but we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what could be as bad as the December one? I mean,
so something's going on with Amy's machine.
What's going on with my machine?
I can't see you. It's some kind of problem going on your side, not on my side.
See, it's doing the thing again.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Oh, I wanted to pin you.
Yeah, there you go.
I wanted to pin you, but it stopped. I'm going to get water before we start, Frankie. Frankie, I want you to meet my friends Murray Bush and Mary Babs.
I'm doing great. I'm Maureen.
Hi, Frankie.
I'm Frankie Down. Nice to meet you. I'm doing great. I'm an author of book. Be prepared. Frank now got a life letter and everything.
Awesome.
Frankie's the king of self-promotion. Really see how he does his sign off. There's like rhythm to it. It's beautiful.
And did you hear about this? I found it. Obase guy's really, really busy editing a lot of videos so far. He's editing so much videos on his YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. How's Base Guy's computer?
He's getting old. He's doing a lot of video editing so far. He's uploading videos. I'd like to introduce Base Guy's friend, Pat, Sky Universe.
Well, editing YouTube videos takes a lot of time. I know I took probably 12 hours editing this week on a video that then my video editor crashed and I had to start all over again.
Oh, no.
I'm the worst for like spending no time editing. I just like go cut, delete. Good enough. I'm bad for that. Pretty much ready to start the show. The more we can use hey down by, you see that reactions thing in the bottom, and you can raise the hand. The more we can do that, the better, just so I can get better cuts for when I make the radio show, so that and that helps me fix audio problems if there is some. And so don't be afraid to use that. Okay, I think I'll start. Good morning, Prince George, and good afternoon, Winnipeg. This is the CoMedeorological Report. Comedy plus meteorology equals CoMedeorology. I'm your host, Joey Only, here in Wells, British Columbia. This is your show about how much the weather sucks in Canada. And it sucks. But it's not so bad right now, actually. It's been pretty warm, and I think the theme of this week is it's the January Thaw episode. I got a whole panel of CoMedeorologists. I'll introduce you to them in a second. You're hearing us on CFR 88.7 FM in Prince George Saturday mornings, and you're hearing us on CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg. And I'm trying to push CFBX Kamloops to take us on. So if you happen to live in Kamloops, feel free to send a message or a phone call that station and be like, get the CoMedeorological Report on. I have pitched my show and not heard back from them yet, but we want CFBX. In fact, we want everybody, right? Frankie McDonald. We got this week with us, of course, Frankie McDonald out in Sydney, Nova Scotia, the world famous weatherman himself. And we got Brandon Houck from from Real Country Radio in Brooks, Alberta, 105.7 FM. And he's doing radio for about 10 different radio stations, sometimes as many as 20. And sometimes he's on our radio show at the same time as he's making radio, which is broadcasting to several radio stations. And then because we broadcast this, it's like Brandon he's the number one radio station guy on this panel. And we have guests this week, Murray Bush and Marianne Abbs. They're very old friends of mine who are working on a project for BC Transit to be intercommunity. We'll talk about that soon. Hilding Donaldson out in Grassy Plains, our weatherman out there, and Imogen Bailey down in Victoria. But first, everybody, Frankie McDonald, how's it going so far?
It's going great so far. It's supposed to get lots of rain this weekend across Nova Scotia. New Brunswick's going to get a lot of snow. Northern New Brunswick and Bonaventure, Quebec, and low pressure system is going to stall. It's going to snow for the next few days in Quebec and parts of New Brunswick. It's going to rain for the next few days in Nova Scotia. That's going to cause real cold air going all the way down Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Vancouver, British Columbia. It's going to rain for the next few weeks. Los Angeles is getting so much rain on Saturday. Severe weather going on in southeastern United States lately. There's a possible tropical cyclone aiming towards Madagascar, Africa next week as well. There's a lot of thunderstorms and rain in Central America, South America, like Brazil, Venezuela, Peru, and all these places, and Ecuador, and all these places, and Bolivia, and it's a lot of places in the tropical region of South America, and England's getting lots of wind and rain and things like this, in France and Spain. And up around Norway, there's lots of rain and snow showers in Finland, Sweden. Even Russia's getting really cold weather. Moscow, Russia's getting really cold weather this week. Driving all the cold air all the way down to Albania, Greece, and all these places. And the places like Siberia is so cold there. Right now, it was super cold in Siberia, Russia. And Japan's getting lots of snow and rain, things like this. Cold air, warm air fighting each other in Japan. And South Korea as well. And Australia is getting lots of hot weather and got cold weather heading for parts of New Zealand. It's unusual for them in Southern Hemisphere summer. In South Africa, it's getting really hot weather, lots of thunderstorms and rain in Uganda, Congo, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique, and all these places. And Africa. And it's really dry in Namibia, Africa as well. In southwestern Africa, it was really dry in Namibia, Africa as well. And it's cold outside 24 hours a day in Antarctica. It's dark 24 hours a day up in the Arctic. It's light 24 hours a day in Antarctica. The first sunset takes place in Antarctica. That'll be the end of January, and sometime in February. And the first sunrise up above the Arctic Circle, that's in the end of January.
Frankie, you're on fire this week. Nicely done. How's the weather?
Montreal getting a lot of snow tonight and tomorrow as well.
How's the weather in outer space this week, Frankie?
There's a green comet heading towards the Earth on February 2nd, 2023. Then after that day, the comet will return to Earth 50,000 years from now.
How's the weather on Mars this week, Frankie?
A lot of sandstorms and giant, really bad sandstorms going on Mars. And Saturn's moon Titan's like liquid nitrogen, like rain up in Saturn's moon Titan in certain areas.
Right. What video did you make this week, Frank?
I did a video for Los Angeles, California. Heavy rain headed for Los Angeles for Saturday. Major snowstorm in Montreal on Friday as well.
And talk to us about your new bobbleheads there, Frankie Mac.
Cowboy Frank Dow bobblehead. The render's not yet released. That means the render is coming soon. People can pre-order it right now on Cowboy Frank Dow bobblehead. It's going to be ready in May.
Who on the CoMedeorological panel has a question for Frankie Mac?
Yes.
I have a question. Frankie, which planet is the coldest right now? In our solar system, which planet is the coldest?
Mars.
Mars is the coldest. Okay, well, to follow up on that, how long would it take a full-grown megalodon shark to freeze on Mars?
That means the sharks can freeze to death up there.
I would think the coldest place in our solar system might be, I'm guessing, like Pluto or some ice place.
Are you saying Pluto because it's farthest away from us?
Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are gas planets.
Well, yes, Uranus is pretty chilly.
Any other questions for Frankie McDonald on the panel?
Ask him if it's going to snow here.
Is it going to snow in Victoria?
Yes, sometime in the end of January, there's a possible snow in Los Angeles.
Oh, Victoria and Los Angeles are possibly getting snow.
Yes.
Thanks, Frankie. Thanks for throwing snow at us.
Marianne Abs?
Hey, Frankie, I have a friend in Patagonia. What's it like there?
Right now in cold in it's cold outside Nova Scotia right now. It's getting colder in Southern California. Even Baja California is getting rain this weekend as well in Mexico.
Hey, Murray Bush.
Okay, I got a question for you, Frankie. It's been raining here for a very long time. I looked at the forecast before the show. Rain, 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 rain. When's it going to stop raining here
In
on Vancouver Island?
That means it's rainy season right now. It's going to continue rainy next month as well in March. Then again, it's a dry season in spring. The last spring, they didn't have very good spring. So much rain in Vancouver Island, Vancouver last spring.
That's true. And seeing as we just had Marianne Abs and Murray Bush ask questions, we're going to go to them for a second before we get to Brandon with Western Canada weather. And I want you to talk to us briefly about your idea for intercommunity transit in British Columbia. I mean, and looking at how bad the weather can be, it's nice to be able to get on a bus sometimes and not hitchhike from town to town.
Okay, so we're a citizens group, basically people all across the province. We've been trying to get more people all the time for the last couple of years. Lots of seniors are interested, students are interested, people in remote Aboriginal communities are interested. And a lot of this is because in 2018, Greyhound bus left BC. So they left virtually all the routes except the ones that BC Transit does. And that's been filled in with local firms and firms from Alberta. And it's private bus companies, some of which can survive and some of which have been having a lot of trouble surviving. So we don't have a reliable province-wide bus system that can accommodate every community, that anyone in BC can get to where they're going by bus, which is what we'd like to see.
Marianne, you have something you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to add, lots of communities are left stranded without any bus service at all right now. Like you can't, like I'm actually worried about parts of the Fraser Canyon because Adventure Charters has dropped its contract and eBus is going to be going through Kamloops instead of through the canyon. There's been cuts in bus service on the island here. One of the companies has stopped operating for 4 months. So we think we need like a public system that's like community to community that doesn't leave anyone behind. And that's really important. Lots of people need to travel and don't want to hitchhike, don't want to drive when it's snowy or dangerous. So yeah, we're trying to get the BC government to listen and put some of that surplus that it has into like proper public transit for people.
So we'll come back to you a little bit in the episode and we'll have a much deeper conversation on the topic, but that's Marianne Abs and Murray Bush. And I think it's a great idea getting bus transportation between cities in this province. Brandon Hauk, down there in Brooks, Alberta, you still have bus transportation going. You're right up there on Highway 1. So how is the weather down there? It's pretty mild right now, isn't it? It's mild everywhere. You're expecting a Chinook real soon. And
Yes.
yeah, let us know what's going on for Western Canada right now. Is there anything actually interesting besides all the atmospheric river down in Vancouver Island, for example?
That means atmospheric rivers bring a lot of rain in California. All those moisture in that river come all the way from Indonesia because Indonesia's getting really, really, really bad rainy season this year.
Yes, that atmospheric river, I believe parts of Vancouver Island by the end of this week can probably pick up anywhere from 100 to 200 millimeters of rain, which could lead to some flood problems and mudslides. So we'll be watching that very closely with the significant rainfall there. So for us here in Alberta, last couple of days, we've been in this stagnant flow. So we've kind of been, some of us have been kind of cool. So for like areas from Medicine Hat through Edmonton up towards Grand Prairie, we've seen daytime highs around -10. So not so bad. Actually, right around the seasonal average for this time of year. So that's the situation. And then we've had the fog that's been lingering for the last 3 days. So this is like day 3 of fog that we finally saw the sky clear out here in the south, but left this incredible display of rime frost right on the trees. And it just, it's absolutely stunning. If you ever get to see this, quite a display of rime frost from a freezing fog event that lingers for days on end. And the other good news with that, I guess I have to wear pants now because now the neighbors can see me out and about. So that's been the situation in southern portions of the province. But we finally dissipated that fog, pushed it out, and now we've got the Chinook Arch off to the west. So that's from that atmospheric river out of British Columbia. So textbook Chinook Arch. And so at this last hour, Brooks was -10. And about 25 kilometers to the southwest, Enchant is 6 degrees. So that warmer air is not so far away from us right now. Yes.
And by this hour, Brandon means that we're recording the show on the 12th of January, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you'll be hearing it in Prince George on the 14th and the 16th in Winnipeg. So bear in mind as you're listening to the show, that's some of the timing that you radio listeners might be listening to. Brandon, continue.
All right. So yeah, that is the so that's the warmer air mass moving in to the province of Alberta from the Pacific. So that's a very nice treatment. Claresholm, Alberta today got to 10 degrees. I think somebody's going to get to 10 again tomorrow and Saturday, which is going to be very nice because it's been, well, I've seen this. I've been looking at the same snowbank since the beginning of November. So I'm hoping to see some grass.
And I got major news for you. Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 totally no longer supported altogether.
Big problems.
Major
Back on
news.
Tuesday, the last update forever and last major security update forever and any security update for forever for Windows 7, Windows 8.1. That was Tuesday, January 10th, 2023, and it's no longer supported.
There you go. So the times they are a changing. Brandon, you had any good smoking but good barbecue lately?
Smoking good barbecue.
Yeah.
Well, had it at Hometown Barbecue. That's a good place too. That's Hometown Barbecue. That's haven't had to do that ad for a while, so hopefully we'll be able to do that again pretty soon for radio, which is a lot of fun.
That ad went a long way. They got a lot of free play out of that video.
Oh yeah. And especially for the Bandits games, I can play it like 25 times if I wanted to. So, didn't get in trouble at all. No. All right. So that was the where was I? Oh yeah. So we have a low pressure system moving in tonight. That's going to produce an area of freezing rain in the Grand Prairie area. And we will continue to see that warm air stick around in next week. We'll have a couple low pressure systems passing through with a chance of snow showers, freezing rain. So we'll keep an eye on that, especially Saturday night to Sunday from Lloydminster down to about Hannah, moving into Saskatchewan for Saturday into Sunday. Might get some freezing rain also into parts of Manitoba as well with these couple of clipper systems that are going to be passing through the eastern prairies. And we'll eventually start seeing some of that milder air work its way into Manitoba for the first part of next week. And then we'll also watch cold Arctic air mass move in from the north to the south, where Churchill, Manitoba has been quite cold this week. And some of that cold Arctic air will try to descend from the north to the south and may even push into northern Ontario as we go throughout most of next week there. And other than that, no significant systems, exception for British Columbia, where they got these atmospheric rivers. And we're going to be dealing with that significant amount of rain for coastal sections of BC. It's, as I mentioned, 100 to 200 millimeters of rain for parts of Vancouver Island. And those higher elevations in the south coastal mountains there, they could be exceeding over 100 centimeters of snow by next week here. So that's really going to up those avalanche risk potential with the warm air at the surface. You get all that snow above, and yeah, it's going to cause a lot of trouble next week.
and that's already been through the roof, and conditions have even deteriorated further. If you want to, radio listeners, if you want to see the recording of this show, we broadcast it live on my YouTube channel, Joey Only Caribou Weather Dude. This week I made a video about avalanches. Of course, we had a police officer down in Caslow get killed while skiing from avalanche. It's very, very, very dangerous. And since yesterday's video that I put out, conditions have actually deteriorated further. Prince George, you got a 30% chance of rain on Saturday, high of 3, low -3 at night. Periods of snow Sunday, 0, -1 at night. Monday, 2 degrees, -7 at night, maybe. Chance of flurries really through the next week. So nothing substantial necessarily that we've been looking at, but nonetheless, the chance of flurries and maybe some freezing rain in places. Winnipeg, I mean, your conditions, besides having a cool night Friday night, you're hovering -2, -3 Saturday, Sunday, maybe down to -5 at night. Not till Monday night when you hit -15, Tuesday, maybe -17 at night. So our CKUW radio listeners, shout out to you, especially people in the meteorology department, because we know that this show is the talk of all you meteorology weather nerds in that school. Hello to you. Hilding, how is the weather in Grassy Plains?
Well, we've been
Rain.
having.
What about Vancouver? We're supposed to get a lot of rain. Vancouver.
Oh, wait.
How much rain Victoria's getting this weekend in Victoria?
Imogen's talking right now. Hilding, quickly, how's Grassy Plains this week?
We've been having a real dead zone for about a week and a half here, where it has hovered around 0, and we've had really heavy rime frost every morning. And no snow, but yet we've been accumulating like 2 to 3 centimeters of frost every day, which is kind of an interesting phenomenon in this area. I've never seen it anywhere else.
So what you have is air that's humid.
Well, we have.
Indonesia's getting a major earthquake sometime this year, and by possibility 8.0 magnitude earthquake. A greater magnitude earthquake in Vancouver might even get it anytime soon, or Japan, or even California.
Frankie's making predictions. Vancouver, you can't escape major earthquakes forever. Brandon Hauk, what say you on the rime frost, hoarfrost topic?
So did you have any fog up there, Hilding, there?
We have fog every morning because we
Okay.
have a ferry crossing a lake here that keeps the lake open.
Okay, yeah. So if you didn't have any fog and you have a frost every morning, it would have been hoarfrost.
It would be hoarfrost. Yes, I used to call it hoarfrost, and I've had to correct it on my weather report because I found out it was rime frost because we have this fog phenomenon every morning. Mhm.
Just have to highlight Imogen's camera freak out.
Oh,
It's like got all our faces freaking out. Yeah, she finally turned it off. She didn't like that.
there we go. It's
And Imogen,
corrected.
the coast, our guests tonight are very close to you. So maybe you could give us your take on Victoria's weather before we talk to Murray Bush and Marianne Abs.
Rainy off and on, cloudy, cold, generally like living on a wet sponge, a wet hippie infested sponge. It's everything's damp and wet, moist, unpleasant. I love it. Everyone here is just so sour faced and surly. It's really quite nice.
Right.
That's Victoria.
Imogen Cookie Bailey. That's the quickest Victoria
And if
weather.
you're here about this, the asteroid 1997 XF11 headed towards the Earth on October 26, 2028.
Is it going to hit the Earth, Frankie?
Going to bypass the Earth.
It's going to bypass the
That's
Earth.
It's going to cause a lot of earthquakes
How's it going to cause earthquakes?
because of gravitational pull.
I hope so. Vancouver, you can't escape major earthquakes forever, right, Frankie?
Yeah.
People in Vancouver.
Meteorite's coming. It's going to cause that gravitational shift on the tectonic plates, which will slip and slide around like the greasy little things that they are. And there's going to be just enough slide to cause some land disruption. Vehicles will fall in. Gorillas will go crazy. There's going to be all sorts of kookiness. Tidal waves will happen. It's going to be fantastic.
I wonder how the gravity is going to affect my ego. Murray Bush.
Might bring it back down to earth.
I doubt it. Murray Bush and Marianne Abs. So let's talk to you about inner city bus service in British Columbia and how hard it is right now to get from one part of the province to another if you don't drive an automobile.
Okay, so it's pretty hard. I just looked at what's going on in Prince George. In Prince George, the bus company, the Adventure Bus Company, just handed over their route to eBus, presumably because they couldn't make a go of it, and they're only going twice a week. So the service is already pretty slow. There's, you may have heard about what's happening on Vancouver Island with the bus that goes from Victoria all the way out to Tofino, the Tofino bus, which gets a lot of tourists in the summer. But at this time of year, it's people that live along the way. There's 50 stops along that route, and there's 28 Indigenous communities along that route that all depend on that bus. And the bus company, which got bailed out 2 years ago to the tune of $2.6 million, also for the Tofino bus, they have mothballed their route until May, when the weather's better, when the tourist season starts. But that's great for the tourists, but not so great for the people that live in that area. So there's a lot of cherry picking going on. I think the problem is the model of smaller private companies operating these bus routes isn't feasible.
And this goes right back to BC Rail too. I mean, if you want to go from Quesnel now to Vancouver on the Rocky Mountain Express, I mean, it's a yuppie trip down the rails. It's not meant for public transportation whatsoever.
Yeah, we would have to all chip in for you to take that run, Joey. I don't think we could all go.
No, and how often does an airplane fly to Prince George to Vancouver? Well, numerous times a day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, buses have existed a long time. I mean, this isn't really rocket science. It seemed to me like Greyhound intentionally let their company run down to the ground before they finally just pulled the plug on it. Like they just tried to milk it as long as they could, knowing they had no intention of really providing adequate service in Canada.
They also had a terrible reputation for labor relations with their drivers and with their other staff. I remember several pretty gruesome strikes in Vancouver that shut Greyhound down. So, you know, people weren't, I don't think people were sad to see them go, other than that they filled all those routes. But they also cherry picked a lot of them, and they ended up near the end with the best routes, and the routes that they didn't want to do, they just dropped. So that's a problem. Back to the trains, I think the trains are a great idea, and there's a group working out of Victoria, maybe Imogene knows about it, that wants to revive the Esquimalt tracks and use them up and down the island. And you know, we still have tracks all over the province. It's just that we gave them away through that BC rail deal, which was criminal, really.
So obviously the public wants to know about eBus, and I'm not, I don't have any opinion on them. I don't know much about them. I'm not looking for dirt necessarily, although there may be some there. The accidents, obviously the talk of BC. I know from experience that buses just run, the public expects it, the bosses expect it. Buses run through weather that nobody should be driving through. You know, so we had this accident, and so it's really drawn into the limelight, this discussion, although I don't necessarily know how safe or unsafe eBus was really in relation to any other bus company. It was just a matter of time before something like this happened.
Right. Well, there was another bus accident a couple of days before that, also with an eBus it was an eBus route that they had sort of subcontracted to another even smaller bus company. You know, I don't know what caused the accident, and there's all kinds of accidents, but I think part of what this points to is when you need profit margins out of your operating costs, then maybe you don't renew your bus as much. maybe you don't get the latest safety technology. Maybe you don't stop the run on a night when you shouldn't do the run.
Well, Hilding Donaldson made a good point at the beginning of the show, which was that Greyhound ran all heavy buses, and now we have this sort of environmental move towards lighter buses that are cheaper on fuel and cheaper to buy and operate. They don't have that necessarily that classic traction of a heavy duty bus on the highway, right? Marianne Abbs has a point to make.
Yeah, I wanted to say that generally buses are like safer than driving, but if we did have this as a public service, then we could have uniform standards and uniform training. People could get the training that they need, and we could have high public standards. But I wanted to just add too that like this idea just seems like to a lot of people such a no-brainer, but our government is just like not moving on it right now. So one of the things we're planning to do is to try to get people together on like a Zoom cafe night with some musicians and poets and stuff. So we wanted to just do a shout out if you're interested in like bringing a song to like our Zoom cafe night so that we can publicize this campaign or a poem or anything. That would just be in touch with us. And we'd love to include you. And I think Murray had some ideas for bus songs. Maybe you want to say some of those.
I don't want to sing much no more.
Yeah, you had a classic bus song, didn't you, Joey?
I had some really good bus songs. Yes, I certainly did. Anyone on the panel, you got questions? And Murray's got something he wants to say first. And then we'll open it up to discussion.
Okay, can we, after the discussion, we do have some song ideas that we'd like to sort of half sing, if that's okay. Should we do that now or should we do that after? Should we do it now?
Yeah.
You are more than welcome to half sing.
Okay, we're going to try here.
On the CoMedeorological Radio Report on CFR 88.7 FM, CKUW 95.9 FM. Here's Murray Bush and Marianne Abbs singing about buses.
Okay, so the first one is Bus of the Rising Sun. Is there a bus in New Denver? Does it come with a morning sun? Wandering has been the ruin of many a poor rider, and God I know I'm one. It gets worse.
Okay.
The next one's
I don't know how good this is gonna work.
Okay, the next one's Call Me Maybe. Hey, I just got here and this is crazy, but there's no buses. Next Tuesday, maybe. Okay. We'll skip to the Tofino bus, which is sitting at the stop on the bay, waiting for Tofino bus to come back in May. Watching all the cars roll in, then I watch them roll away again. I'm just sitting at the stop on the bay, wasting time. One for the winter bus drivers. Hey, bus drivers, slow down a little bit, slow down a little bit, slow down.
Okay.
Okay. One from Tina Turner. I'm your private transit for money, and I'll do whatever I want. And the last one, the fares on the bus go up and up, and up, up and up. The fares on the bus go up and up, all through BC.
And once this spring comes up, Chris Chittick for the El Nino Storm Hunter Sky. He'll be chasing tornadoes again. Once again in spring, Aaron J. Jack will be really busy again. Once again, a few months later, Aaron J. Jack will be chasing tornadoes again.
Long time since you've been on the Tornado Hunter podcast, at least us together. Maybe you've been on since before, since Frankie.
Chris Chittick will be chasing tornadoes again in the spring in large hail and severe weather.
Anyone got conversation about the bus topic that we're talking about?
Each bus has their own bus routes in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Canada. Route 1 is Sydney Glace Bay bus. Route 3 is New Aberdeen bus in Glace Bay. Route 4 is Seals Hill bus. Route 5 is Sydney North Sydney Mines. Route 7 is Shopping Malls. Route 8 is Whitney Pier bus. Route 9 Sydney to Waterford. Route 10 is Alexander Street. Route 11 is Ashford bus. Route 12 is Sydney River bus. Route 13 is George Street bus in Sydney. Route 14 is Seaview Express bus. And Route 15 is Sunday Service bus.
The buses of Sydney, Nova Scotia. Frankie McDonald, everybody.
And the Route 7 is Shopping Malls bus.
Right. That's the bus you take to get to the shopping mall?
That means Route 1, Glace Bay bus to get to shopping mall.
No, right. Murray Bush?
I wish I had a memory like that, Frankie.
That means that when people get on the one bus, they have to go to the point to get a transfer to another bus to get to the mall. You have to ask the driver for a transfer.
So I did want to say something more about the buses, and that's the reason this group started basically was we kept looking at bus service that's
when they go from one route to another route, they have to ask the driver for a transfer. They have to get a piece of paper. Yeah, once they get off the bus, they have to show the driver for the piece of paper from another bus to get somewhere.
Murray?
Okay. We kept looking at the transit services that are available in big cities like Victoria and Vancouver, and even Kelowna and Kamloops to some degree. The urban, all our focus so historically has been on developing public transit for cities, but everybody in rural areas and more remote communities doesn't have the same availability. Obviously, a bus isn't going to run every 20 minutes from outside 100 Mile, but we need some transit, and transit is now seen as a right. It's a right for students who need it to get to and from school. It's a right for seniors who need to get to medical appointments. It's a right for people looking for work or people going to work. It's a right for kids. It's a right for families who are going to look after other family members for whatever reason. So once you recognize it as a right, then you have to provide the service.
What about having
down in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Route 13 takes you up to the regional hospital from Sydney, Nova Scotia. The Route 13 is George Street Hospital bus in Sydney.
No, don't get on that bus anytime soon, Frankie. Hilding?
What about the idea of having a bus service that goes once a week in some really remote areas?
That means the George Street bus also takes us to Joni's Pizza in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and they take it to somewhere in Cottage Road and up by the Canberra Street and things like this. And the Alexander Street bus take you all the way up to Alexander Street in areas like the Boulderwood neighborhood.
Yeah, we could get on that bus once a week and go see Joe Stover in Churchill, Manitoba. Too bad he's not with us this week.
On Route 5 takes you from Sydney to North Sydney Mall. And Route 1 takes you to Mayfire Mall and Savoy Theatre over at Glace Bay.
I didn't hear about that, Frankie.
Route 5 in Sydney Mall is supposed to take you to Cape Breton Shopping Plaza and Sydney River. And if you go further than that, they take you all the way to North Sydney Mall.
That's where the mall is. This one time I was on the Greyhound bus coming across Canada, and somewhere in Toronto, this sketchy guy got on the bus, and he was like, you know how 20 plus years ago there was these guys they called B-boys, and they wore these pants, they called them exhaust pants, and sometimes they'd have their hats on like sideways, and they'd kind of like strut around like thinking they're rappers or something. And this guy got on, and he was just weird the whole time. And as you're going across Canada, you keep thinking like, when's dude gonna get off the bus? And he's not getting off the bus, and he continues to be weird. And then somewhere in Northern Ontario, he's like, hey, I got some weed, man, like I can smoke a joint, and of course everyone who's sitting sort of back where he is, be like kind of sketched out, like, I don't know if I really want this smoke weed with this guy heat score at the bus station, but okay, you go roll it there, dude. And he goes in the can back there, and then he comes out a little while later and he informs us that he dropped the bag down the toilet but the weed stayed dry inside. He managed to get it out
Whoa.
and still roll a joint. And
They have
we
to
were
get-
all
they have
like,
to get-
dude, no.
That means they have to get the plumber and the police involved.
And then so what happened was, then we get to Calgary and he's still in the bus, and he hasn't hardly slept for 4 days, and he's just sketched and weird and not a guy that I really wanted to be around. And somewhere by Cochrane, Alberta, he starts freaking out, and he's like, and he's swearing really loud. And because we're on radio, I can't repeat what he said, but my wallet, and I left my wallet at the station, and with all kinds of manners of expletives between each time that he said, every third word or so, my effing wallet, this, blah, blah, blah. And as the bus driver, and the bus is right full at this point, like, almost standing room only. And the bus driver who comes on, he's like, please, you have to stop swearing and calm down. And but the guy's like yelling back, but I lost my effing wallet. And he's just like freaking out. And I guess he left his wallet at the Calgary Greyhound terminal somehow. And the bus driver is getting more, and the exchange goes on, and guy doesn't calm down. Long story short, the RCMP are waiting for him at Banff. Long story short, there was a Canada-wide warrant for said guy.
What happens if he flew the plane to Grozny, Russia? What does that mean?
I don't know if they would have let him on a plane to Grozny, Russia, because there was a Canada-wide warrant, and he did pretty good to get almost all the way across the country before just heat scoring himself into jail.
What happens if it's upgraded to Canada, US, Russia warrant? What does that mean?
I don't know. I guess there'll be no bus service between America and Russia anymore.
What that worldwide
Only
warrant,
once
what
a
does that
week.
mean? Worldwide warrant, what does that mean?
Worldwide warning. Well, it doesn't mean much to me because up here in the mountains, nothing's really changed. But
Worldwide warrant
hey,
means somebody's in trouble all over the world because it got on a plane to Russia.
Right. What I miss? Hold on.
that was over my head, Frank.
This was about bus service, and then a worldwide warning, and something about Russia. There are a few pieces of this puzzle that are just not there. What's going on?
We're jumping around. We're having fun.
War's going on in Russia still.
Okay, that is fun. See, Joey was right. We are having fun. Thank you.
They have to get the Interpol. That's the international police.
For Joey's
Anyone,
bus guy? That's already
anyone
dealt with, man.
Anyone got bus conversation? Anything you want to ask Marion and Murray?
I just wanted to answer Hilding's question about a remote community that would only get a bus once a week. I think that's fine. I mean, I don't think anybody expects the same level of service that you would get if you were living in downtown Vancouver. That would be a community that now gets no bus. So, to get a once a week bus would be a big improvement, I would think.
Well, we have that out here in Wells. A bus comes from Quesnel once a week, and it gets to Wells at something like 6:45 in the morning. So I've never taken it.
Wow.
And it gets back here at about 4 in the afternoon. And I don't want to walk around Quesnel for 6 hours, so I've never taken it. But people do, and it's important that they do.
Marianne, you have some stories about your parents, right?
Yeah, and I guess I just wanted to say also, like, part of the reason to have like one system and not like all this kind of patchwork of multiple contractors and companies is so that it can all work together. Like, because there's so many of these little companies in BC where, like, if you want to actually go and transfer to another place, you might actually have to stay overnight for like 1 night or 2 nights or 3 nights, which is really expensive, before you can get the bus to the next community. So because a lot of the bus routes in BC only run like 2 or 3 times a week, like transferring and then getting onto your next route can take a really long time. So I just wanted to mention that. And I probably got involved in this because my parents live in a 100-mile house, and I literally sometimes drive from the coast to 100 miles so I can drive them to their medical appointments in Kamloops, because there's often like no option to get there. So yeah, that's one of the reasons that I'm like involved in this.
That's a lot of driving, actually. And
Yeah.
that
And we can hear
also,
about that down in Grozny, Russia. It's really, really cold there right now.
and Brandon Hauk, you got something to say? We got Pete showing up and we got to talk to him in a second.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I got
we
a good
do.
bus story here from, I'd say it's about 10 years ago. This was Greyhound. And I booked my ticket to go on the Greyhound the next day. I get to the Greyhound, I get on the bus, and there's a problem. The bus is full. So what they had to do, instead of me having to wait for the next bus, which wouldn't arrive until the next day, they booked me a taxi to go from Banff to Brooks. So I got a nice taxi ride. And I didn't have to pay for it.
That is a long taxi ride for sure. Pete Galenko is just showing up that he's down there in Boulder, Colorado. He's driving for Lyft. He's driving around right now. He just took his last 1 second, Pete. Just took his last customer out past Gun Club Road towards Space Force Base. And just past the Space Force Base is where the Gaylord Rocky Inn is, right, Pete?
That's right. That was the other day. I just dropped off a passenger over there at East Jewel just now.
What's going on in Ukraine?
What's going on in Ukraine? Nothing good new that I'm aware of. Y'all can check out some of the roads here still got snow impressively. This is still from the end of the December storm. Let me turn around my camera.
And Russia still at war.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems like not a whole lot of diplomacy going on in regards to settling things there.
I think Imogen has a question for you, Pete.
Space Force Base.
Yeah, Space Force Base. Yes.
Can you talk to us about the Space Force Base? So everybody, if you watch the live stream of the show, after we stopped recording the radio segment last week, and Pete told us about driving past Gun Club Road, where the Space Force Base is, the friggin' Space Force Base. And then that's where the Gaylord Rocky Resort is.
Yeah, the Space Force Base is not far from the Gaylord Rocky Resort, which is, I did a drop off over there after the airport the other day. There's a lot of stuff in Colorado, surprisingly. There's also a Gaylord Street somewhere here in downtown Denver. That's a thing, apparently.
We still can't believe you have a Space Force Base.
A Space Force Base, yes, it is a Space Force Base, and I didn't even realize the Space Force Base was there at first. Though it is pretty interesting. They have these, I'm not sure exactly what they are. It's some sort of weather stations that look like large orbs, like giant balls. Like
There's giant balls. Space Force Base.
Yeah,
Space
I took
Force
pictures.
Base has giant balls.
They do. It's there for some meteorological purposes.
Sounds like a Doppler radar, but could be.
Yeah,
space
that must
balls.
be what it is. They have a bunch of
balls.
Space balls. Yeah, space balls. They might as well have space balls at the Space Force Base. And they have a lot of security there. I went and checked it out. And a lot of cars going in, going out, and yeah, there's a lot of aviation. And then I did a drop off the other day at Key Lime Air and near Mayo Air also, which is where all the private jets are, which was pretty cool. I dropped somebody from FedEx off over there. There's like a separate area away from over towards the Space Force Base. It's closer to there where there's the private jets, and I looked into it. They do a lot of like the celebrity flights and that sort of thing, the athletes and Stuff interested.
Celebrity Space Force flights. Imogen.
So, okay, Space Force Base, giant floating orbs. You're in Colorado. Everyone's baked all the time. It's Colorado. That's what y'all do. So, do tourists have a lot of alien sightings? Is this a common thing in that area? You've got the elements.
Not that I heard. I had a pastor the other day commenting about what they believe to be an alien sighting in Las Vegas, where they had some like red looking orbs over the sky there. I looked up the video online. It almost looked more like odd smoky clouds. I don't know. So I haven't had any sightings myself since I've been here. So
Well, if you're a freaking alien, the first thing you're going to do if you come to Earth is avoid the Space Force base, because that sounds like the most hostile place probably there is.
That's
It's
the
like-
place where they would capture them or something.
Yeah, like let's not go to Area 51. Let's not go to the Space Force
figure-
base. Let's go to somewhere where they're just going to probably not even acknowledge it. We'll go to Canada, because aliens are acceptable. We'll take aliens in.
What? I've seen a lot of UFO sightings up in the Peace River country.
That's
All right.
awesome. I would like to mention something about Pete's alien sighting in Vegas. I was in Vegas a few years ago, and I got a rather serious warning. Now, first of all, in hotels, they block the local TV station so that tourists don't see the local news. It's apparently quite violent. A lot of crazy stuff happens. It's on local news. They don't want tourists seeing that and being scared off. Stay in the tourist areas, you'll be fine. But the warning that I got was a security guard at the place where I was staying had said, if you're planning on partying, it's Vegas, I'm there for work, but he doesn't, that whole Vegas as a party destination is kind of legendary. Says, you're planning on partying, don't do street drugs. Okay. And don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. But he says, he says, don't do street drugs because it's basically like a sport almost to drug tourists with stuff they're not aware of. So unless you know someone there who's got a regular hookup, don't party with strangers because it can go really, really bad.
Don't take random drugs in Vegas. So it's not worth the bet.
Yeah. So
my internet connection just went out, that I just rejoined to hearing Imogen say, make sure you trust your drug dealer.
Yes. It's important to have a reliable drug dealer that you trust because
we
they
should
love
socialize drugs as well. Why not?
Well, we do that in Canada. That's what we do. But the point I'm making is that Pete's guy with the alien sighting, he might have been a little under the influence of something he wasn't aware of. He's in Vegas as a tourist. It might have been someone's idea of a joke to put a little something extra in whatever he's drinking.
Oh, he wasn't in Vegas. He was just talking about a video he saw on the internet.
That's
different.
This is really, really hot radio we got going on here now.
Getting off of work.
So one time I was hanging out with some aliens and we had a human sighting. Pete, what do you suppose they do at the Space Force base? What do you suppose Space Force base does?
Send signals out into outer space to see if the aliens and other planets respond.
You think that's really what they're doing? We've already got SETI doing that. The search for
or they're sending signals to satellites to mind control.
It must be about mind control. How's your mind doing? Have you been doing anything that's not normal lately, Pete?
I've not been doing anything that's not normal.
Anybody? Is there any vehicles parked behind you, Pete? We're talking about Space Force base. Can you look in your check over your shoulder there?
There's no vehicles parked behind me now.
No, okay. No vans sort of off to the side somewhere by your 3 o'clock or your 9 o'clock?
No.
Did you hear police up in Norway? They got a doomsday seed fault up in south of Norway. They got a doomsday seed fault to store all the seeds.
Oh yeah, the doomsday seed vault. Yeah, of course. That's
all the heirloom seeds. Yeah.
It's crazy. We have to make plans for what might happen if humans kill every human on Earth, except for, a few in Norway that could get to the seeds.
I don't
Where
think
do you
we're
think
gonna
is
have to.
It's too bad you didn't store them in a place where things actually grow.
where do you think is the
Yeah,
most
that's a good
likely place for people to exist in an apocalypse?
Oh, wells, of course.
There's some abandoned also, and some of them are open to the public. I want to go to one of those one time. Maybe I could go to there. It's a bit out the way, like 2 hours from where I live, but I was looking at one of them and I was thinking I could record from there one time for
Please
one of
go
those
to all
episodes.
Space Force events, Pete. We require that very much. Pete Galenko reporting in Boulder,
there's
Colorado on Space Force down by Gun Club Road.
And I drove someone earlier, not today, but earlier this week, that from the airport, I drove a pilot and I drove a lady here for a meteorological conference in Denver, annual American meteorological conference that's held in Denver.
Brandon House knows about that.
Yeah, it was interesting. She was talking to the pilot. The pilot was talking about how things have changed in regards to their communications with the people on the ground that do the weather reports. Sort of like, I think Joe Stover does some of that stuff with pilots and that sort of thing.
I think Brandon's dad is at that conference. Am I not correct, Brandon?
He's at a different one. He's at the Sportsman kind of fishing and game thing, but they're all in the same building. That was funny. So he's like, there's all these weather folks all around here, and then hunting and fishing people in the same building. Yeah, it's not
Frankie.
It was interesting
Frankie
too.
McDonald.
The lady was speaking about the cloud seeding program, which I didn't know much about.
Yeah, that's in Norway where they plan to cloud seed they got the seed bank. Frankie McDonald, what do you suppose Space Force does?
Space. It means the International Space Station. The astronauts do work up in the International Space Station wearing the spacesuits.
Well, that's NASA, but what does the Space Force do?
Don't know.
No one knows. What's a Space Force for? It's ridiculous that you have a Space Force base, Pete. Anyways, we're getting near the end of the show this week.
I know, it's America.
You've been hearing us.
Of course, we got a Space Force base.
Well, I guess everything.
Space Force base.
Everything
It's just
flies
fun to
in
say.
America.
Space Force base.
We are running out of time, and this has been the CoMedeorological Report. You're hearing us on C for
One more.
88.7 FM and CKUW 95.9 FM. I'm Joey Only, your host every week. This week, we've had quite a cast on, and it's been really awesome. Of course, we had Frankie McDonald, as per usual. Well, we've got Brandon Houck over there in Brooks, Alberta, and our special guests this week were Murray Bush and Marianne Abbs talking about intercity, expanding BC Transit. Really good conversation there. And of course, Imogen Cookie Bailey, who we always have, and Hilding Donaldson, and Pete Galenko just joining us from Boulder, Colorado. Frankie McDonald, any last words for the show this week?
If you want to follow my social media, my Twitter is @Frankie McD. My Facebook is Frankie McDonald. My Instagram is Frankie MacD984. My Twitter is @Frankie MacD. And my TikTok is FrankDown984. My Clapper is FrankDown984. My Twitch is FrankDown984. My Snapchat is Frankie MacDon. And my link is Frankie McDonald. And my YouTube channel, Stocks Wolves. I got news for you. Base Guy's editing so many videos so far because he's really, really, really busy editing a lot of videos. He takes videos of trains and things like this now.
Right on. Base Guy's taking videos of trains down there in Montreal, Quebec.
His friend
So yeah,
his friend Patrick Macca, Sky the Universe, is a friend with Base Guy. He's Patrick Mack is helping out Base Guy.
Patrick Mack is helping out Base Guy. If you want to watch the video version of this show, you can find it on Joey Only Caribou Weather Dude YouTube channel. That's my channel where we also live stream the show every week. And we got a couple seconds left, couple minutes. Last word goes to a special guest this week, Murray Bush and Marianne Abbs.
Thanks for having us. That was great. I just wanted to say that any listeners who are interested in this issue can visit our website at bcwidebus.com.
And just to add, you can also drop us a line at publictransitbcwide@gmail.com.
There you go.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Hey, Frankie, what do you think? Do we invite them back for more shows?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey.
If you'd like to be on the show some more. So how it usually goes with the panel is once you've come on the show, then you're welcome to be added to the group chat and and from there you can just come on whenever you want. So we never know who's going to show up for a show, and that's kind of the beauty of it. And so that's great. I'm really glad that Pete showed up because all week we've been wondering about the friggin' Space Force base, man.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. And then also, it might be necessary. I don't know if you know, but last year, North Korea got one of their rockets close to orbit. So if Russia, North Korea, China, other nations get rockets in orbit, or have satellites with nuclear capabilities, who knows? Might be a good idea to have a Space Force.
What I would suggest as a good idea is getting yourself as far away as possible from the Space Force base, if that's the case.
What? Why? Why would you want to be far away from it? If North Korea is shooting nukes at you, don't you think that would be the safest place to be?
No, I think that's the first place to blow, man. And up here in Wells, far away from the fallout, your chances are better. Hey, my cupboards are stocked.
No. Opposite. I think this is the most secure area.
Yeah. That's gonna keep me safe. A Space Force friggin' base. They won't think to shoot a nuclear missile at that.
They got World War II era nuclear silos here that are open to the public. I could go to a nuclear silo.
Why have you not been doing this?
Come on, every week.
I'll go to one at some
Send us
point. I'm gonna take a day
videos.
trip. I'll go to the nuclear site. There's like 6 of them in Colorado, and they're abandoned. And they're all graffitied up, tagged up, and whatnot.
Dude, you're gonna get us some footage from the nuclear. You're gonna get us some footage from Space Force base, and you're gonna get us some footage from nuclears coming in weeks to come on the CoMedeorological report for 2023. Pete's going to the Space Force base, and he's gonna get footage of nuclear silos. I'm telling you, that's the last place on Earth I want to be when the nukes start flying. I want to be probably as far north as friggin' possible, man. That's the way she goes. That's where freedom lies, in the north, man. We got 1 minute left. Who's got a last word? Are you aligned
with Russia and China already?
Nah, we're far north. Nothing's happening in Wells. Any last words?
I'll try to go south of Mexico. All right, sorry.
I'll say, best of luck here. I'm Frankie Down. You're listening to Community Rocky Weather Report on every Thursday night with Joey Only.
All right, now you've been listening to Frankie McDonald and the CoMedeorological panel. This is the Comedy Meteorology Report, your show about how much the weather sucks in Canada. I've been your host, Joey Only. Thanks, everyone, for coming along once again this week. And all you meteorology students, what do you think, Brandon? We got a special word for the meteorology students at CKUW?
Oh, absolutely. Especially knowing the difference between rhyme frost and hoarfrost. There you go.
Yes. Anything that rhymes with hoarfrost is okay. I think. And if we got one last word. No, nothing really good in the comments. Yeah. Okay, cool. And that's this week's show, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Pete, you dick! Why didn't you tell us about the silos?
For fuck's sake, Pete.
I'll have to take it. I haven't been to the silos yet. Been to the Space Force base, but not the silos. I want to check them out though. I was looking at.
Me do.
I've been in a lot of silos, but we mostly had haylage in them. There was never fucking nuclear weapons.
I think the silos are full of giant balls.
Yeah.
Yes,
they are spherically shaped as well. The silos actually happen to be spherically shaped.
Spherical.
And
Now, to be fair, in the event of like a nuclear drop or whatever, I think the silos are probably the safest place to be. I mean, they are earthquake proof. They're designed to be under attack and survive. So living in a defunct silo would be super cool.
There are some defunct ones in Virginia also. I went to when I was a kid. What's it called?
That's completely insane and stupid logic. Because eventually you got to get out of the silo. And look, everything's been blown the
they
fuck
had
up.
rations, and that the ones in Virginia were a little bit more advanced. That was I forget which presidency, but I guess it was during World War II, I assume, or during the Cold War era. But they eventually opened it to the public as a museum. But that was since it was in Virginia, close enough to DC, that would have been where the politicians would have gone while the citizens died.
No, that's the first place you bomb.
Have you ever studied into the bunker system in Switzerland?
Mostly I've only studied punk rock.
No. Well,
You know,
they say Switzerland is totally riddled with tunnels that are made for bunkers for people to hide in.
There's also
and that's
there's
why
also
Switzerland
no
would be neutral in a world war.
there's also no Swiss punk rock bands. No punkers in Switzerland.
mountain tunnels probably would be a safe place for the event of bombings. Maybe, unless it collapses on you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I got a
tunnels
mine
generally
shaft
pretty
that
safe
goes
until
3
it
kilometers in the mountains.
collapses.
I got a mine shaft that goes 3 kilometers in the mountains that I could hit a baseball if it was a hard ball pitched at 90 miles an hour and probably land it to about where the shaft opening is.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
that close. So, you know, a 300, 400 yard drive, I could hit a baseball that far on a good day.
On a good day, as in a few decades ago,
When the apocalypse happens, people in Wells, it'll take us like 4 fucking days to find out.
That Joey's been living in a mine shaft the whole time.
No,
Hanging
we'll
out,
be like,
punching bears in the face and living in a mine shaft.
no, it'll be more like I'll be at the general store in the morning and someone will be like, I went to town yesterday, eh? Oh yeah. Yeah, and turns out the fucking apocalypse happened.
The town wasn't there.
well, what I
Well,
miss?
that's turned dead quickly, isn't it? Well, everybody on the live stream, thank you for being part of our show every week. We have a lot of fun making it. And I think now that we're back into regular flow of, because the Christmas holidays were a little bit dead. And so I'm sending CFBX our latest. I'm trying to get this radio station to take us on. I'm sending them our latest shows, but our latest shows were like, well, it's Christmas time and 3 people are here. And yeah, there's no Brandon. So I sent them an episode with no Brandon. I was like, well, that's no good because without Brandon's, it's like the one show a year Brandon misses.
One show, yeah.
That's the one I'm going to send to them. How are the Bandits doing? What's their schedule now? You're almost at playoff time.
Yeah, I think about 20 more games, but yeah, we won both of our games last weekend there. Yeah, I think 5-0 over Bonnyville, 4-2 over Fort McMurray. So it was a good northern trip, that's for sure. And Huey Hooker got 2 goals.
Huey Hooker.
Yeah, I think Friday night there, yeah, or Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night he did. So
We love
good.
Huey Hooker.
And then, yeah, so we got 2 games this weekend, and then I got 2 games again next weekend, and yeah, we got till the beginning of March. That's when we get ready for playoffs here coming up around the corner here. So
You think Huey's going straight to the NHL?
oh, I think so. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a couple more seasons, and we'll be up there.
Yeah. Sounds like he's a player. I mean, that's 2 national championships in a row you guys got.
Yeah, actually,
So,
that would be our 3rd one. Yeah.
It's probably more fun for you when it's a home game.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, especially as all the music and everything, all the in the arena sound and PA announcer. It comes through our speakers and comes through the on air there, so it's perfect. So I can play all that through. And with the away games, you can't do that with the other opponents, but with this setup that we have here now, it's like awesome. Yeah.
We just lost Marianne Abbs, and we lost Murray Bush, and we lost Frankie.
I'm boring.
No, I think it's
I know. Yeah.
I think we're at that point where we're making that small talk about hockey and things like that. And
yeah,
I didn't actually see if the Leafs came from behind and won tonight. I'm guessing not.
Those two people, they were from the public transit services, British Columbia.
No, they're old activist friends of mine that I've known for over 20 years in BC. Hard to explain, but I was part of something called the Woodward Squat and Anti-Poverty Committee and a bunch of high-profile activism that happened in British Columbia a long time ago. And I've known them ever since. And they've always been solid. And now they don't live in Vancouver anymore either. They're living on the island. But what they're doing is they started a community advocacy group to expand transit in BC so that communities have better inter-community bus transportation. So, you know, and kind of how I'm free with everything. I'm like, yeah, come on the show, man, right on. Especially because they're people I've known for a long time who are really good at public relations. You know, much like Brandon, they know how to do a segment. Poof. So I knew they'd come on and kill it. Yeah. And they did.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to eat some food. Let the show download.
That's what you're doing right now, eh?
Having a banana to tide me over.
Yeah.
I've always been this way, and I was terrible as a musician on the road because I would play 5, 6, or 7 nights a week for 2-3 weeks at a time, and I could never eat much before a show. You just could not get me to sit down. You just could not get me to sit down and actually friggin' eat, and especially now that my teeth are worse, and you know, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm always eating before.
Almost every show we've done, I've always like been just kind of nibbling before showtime, and you know, not able to actually eat. It's just I don't know, something about performance thing where I've just you know, and I'm like that climbing mountains too. When I'm out there and fighting fire, I don't eat very much all day, and then I eat hard at night when everything's over.
Yeah.
You know, store up for the next day, not rather than make myself sluggish through the day.
Yeah.
That reminds me, this have y'all tried Tibetan food before?
Yeah, of course.
I've never had it. So there's a place in Boulder that's really good. I was gonna get a lunch there earlier. That's only $3.99. They have this like layered bread that's so good for $3.99 that I was gonna ask for the sauce that comes with the bobos. All that stuff that's good cold weather food.
If anyone's still watching the live stream, please hit the thumbs up and share and tell a friend. But most importantly, subscribe. I got like 100 new subscribers in the last month. I'm up to about 1,447 or something like that right now. So that's great because I just want to keep growing this channel and growing this channel and growing this channel. I'd love for this to be what I do. I mean, other people are doing
Great success.
Why can't I?
Almost in big leagues.
So I think that's the show for this week, everybody. Thanks for coming around. And we, bye, Brandon. Bye, Pete. Bye, Imogen. Bye, Hilding. Maybe we'll see you all next week. Yeah.